welcome back, everybody, to the final edition, at least from a Sabres standpoint, of I'll Hang Up and Listen for the 2024-2025 season. Sabres with a 5-4 win tonight over the Philadelphia Flyers, and getting Lindy Ruff his 900th career win, which, a couple clicks for him. That's a huge accomplishment. He's one of 5 total coaches that have ever done it. It's a very, very, very big accomplishment for Lindy, and I'm super happy he did it. As our head coach. I was never always in full agreement of when they fired him during his first, after his first 16 season tenure, his first go around with Buffalo. So remember, this is brought to you by Fatty Beer Company, Western New York's premier market and tap room, with over 300 beers to choose from at 6 different Western New York locations. If you're hankering for a beer, make sure you make it a Fatty Beer. Let them know Two Goalies One Mike sent you, and give their Mango Wheat Beer a try. It's actually one of my favorites, but they have a great selection there, especially if you're a craft beer guy. They have everything, beers from different breweries. I can't say enough good things about them. So make sure you go check them out. A lot to unpack here as this season ends. I'm going to have, hopefully here soon, Ty B is going to hop on with us. One of my favorite guests to have on I'll Hang Up and Listen. Hopefully he'll be here chiming in soon. But just a lot to really unpack here now that it's like finally over, right? Like, you're kind of digesting it. We've known for a while now, even before they were mathematically out, this team wouldn't be in the playoffs. I think they officially finished 12 points out back, which is terrible, to say the least. I think it's 12. I want to say what was 12 points back from the 91 points they would have needed to make the playoffs. I don't know. It's so infuriating, not just because it's just 14 years. This was a year where, and we had Mike Harrington on last night, and he said, like, you've been waiting for a couple of these teams to fall off. You saw Boston finally fall out of contention as a playoff contender. Pittsburgh wasn't good again this year. Philadelphia, all these teams that you knew you're going to be competing with for at least a wild card spot, and none of them made the playoffs. And this was supposed to be the year where the culture changed, the identity changed. You're going to be tougher to play against, this, that, and the other. And you pissed down your leg for 13 games in a row, and 14 years, no playoffs. I don't know. It sucks, man. It sucks, especially this year, because the chance was there. Even with that 13-game losing streak, there was still a chance you could have made the playoffs. It's unbelievable. Like, 91 points gets you in. 91 points, which is, I believe, the point total they had a couple years ago when they finished 1 point out. It might have been 91. Someone in the peanut gallery, maybe you can correct me on that. I don't know. It's awful. The one thing I do appreciate, though, is this community we've built here at Two Goalies One Mike, and I'll Hang Up and Listen. Just being able to chat with you guys after these games, and have a place to vent our frustrations and talk about this team, and trying to find optimism when there certainly isn't much. I don't know. It's been tough for sure. But again, I am grateful for this community we have built here, with Built in Buffalo now as our new platform. Super, super pumped to be with them this season, and the support they've given us, and the strides we've made as a podcast and the strides we've made as a community. It's so grateful for it. I know it sounds stupid, and not trying to put myself on like some type of pedestal or anything, but it's super cool sometimes when you're out in public and you get somebody kind of tap you on the shoulder, like, hey, are you Duane? And from Two Goalies One Mike, right? Yeah, the WGR, yeah. tell Connor we said hi. We love what he does because everyone knows he lives in California. Like, it's super cool, to know that we've built this community and this family to have a place to just vent these frustrations. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really, really, really wouldn't. So I'm going to go right to the peanut gallery here. We got some comments, quite a few comments already in the chat. That post-game presser did not sound like a guy who was excited about coming back next year. I'm not. I actually went to the game tonight, and I wasn't able to listen to the post-game. So if you guys can fill me in on what was said, I'll bring it up here in the chat. From our favorite guy, Mauricio, I'm happy Sabres won last 5 minutes. Was a calamity, sloppy, undisciplined hockey, losing 3 faceoffs, own end, poor defensive coverage, penalty tuck, missed breakaway, chance, Krebs, and 2-0 Zucker. And again, I don't know. Sabres need to learn play discipline, defensive first, defensive second, front net coverage. Punctuation. You just type it and no periods, no commas. I got to piece together one big run-on sentence. Not impressed by Sabres win. Sloppy minor league slap shot hockey. Clean it up. Focus on small details. We need to improve defensively. Last 2 minutes, unthinkable poor play. Goal was coming by Flyers. I definitely did see that they were probably going to at least get that back in with one for sure. And I was definitely a little nervous there that we might have to wait till next season to see Lindy get win 900. Duane, don't take it so easy on these bums. Rough coaching staff, Pagula, henchman, Adams, yes man, scouting staff, development staff, goalie coach, all subpar. Listen, we are going to get into that, Mauricio, no doubt about it. We're going to talk. We're going to talk quite in length about the because here's the way I see it. When you look at this team last year compared to this year, there was some progress made in certain areas. I thought offensively, they had no problem scoring 5-on-5. They were one of the better teams in the league. Obviously, the power play was a big reason why they weren't able to possibly get this team to the playoffs. Goaltending defense was a big issue. They took steps back there for sure. The one thing I will say is I think it took until February last season, I could be wrong, for this team to win 3 games in a row. They won, I don't know how many winning streaks they had, 3+ game winning streaks this season, but it was a lot more than what they had last year. So in terms of consistency, when you did go on a run, I mean, you can try to find a little optimism there, but none of it makes up for the fact that you lost 13 games in a row. The 13-game winless streak, if you want to call it, I still call it a losing streak. I don't care how many overtime loser points they had. Losing streak is a losing streak to me. And if you even win a handful of those games out of those 13, you could be looking at a playoff team right now. It sucks, man. It really, really does. And here we are talking about the offseason in April, looking to the draft, looking to draft lottery odds, free agency. And it sucks, we got to wait as long as we got to for free agency and the draft. And I know you can make trades and deals with non-playoff teams that is allowed, but I can't remember the last time something like that happened. I don't know. So, yeah. Again, Kevin Adams. In terms of we're talking about the future of this team, I'd have to say that obviously I think Kevin Adams is going to be back as the GM of this team next year. I find it hard to believe that they would let him trade Cousins at the trade deadline if they planned on releasing him at the end of the season. I don't think they allow him to make that deal for Norris, the Cousins-Norris trade. I personally don't think it happens. So, in terms of changes that you're looking for, you're probably going to be disappointed. I do think that with the exception of Seth Appert, you're going to have a whole new coaching staff next year. I'm looking for the Rangers to, see if they clean house there and fire Laviolette and Pekka, and hopefully Lindy can convince Mike Pekka to come back here, for next season and be an associate coach. That would be awesome. Kind of groom him to maybe even be the next head coach. I think there is a style of coaching that Pekka might bring to the table. that could a lot of guys on this team could benefit for. I look at guys like I would have looked at a guy like Dylan Cousins if he was still here. I thought could benefit from having a guy like Pekka behind the bench. But I look at a guy like Tuck, who has already been a multi 30+ goal scorer for this team. Honestly, should be a Selke candidate every single season. Obviously, he set the NHL single season record tonight for most block shots by a forward. I think it was with 112. Congrats to him. He won the Rick Martin Memorial Trophy Award. He had a bobblehead night, which I'll pull the bobblehead out here in a second. I could definitely think a guy like Alex Tuck could really benefit from having a guy like Michael Pekka back in this organization, and guys like Ryan McLeod too. I see a little Pekka's game in Ryan McLeod for sure. And top of Ryan McLeod, what a surprise from him this year. He got 20 goals this season. And they have, if you include Norris in this, they have 6 20-goal scorers on this roster. 6. 140+ goal scorer and 130+ goal scorer. If you would have looked at this team on paper, just from an offensive standpoint, if you would have started the season, if you would have started the year, and they would have showed you the stat lines for this team offensively, you would think, well, holy shit, they made the playoffs, but they didn't. And the big reason that because the power play, the lack of defensive structure and ability to play disciplined defense, not just from your defensemen, but from just 5-on-5, your forwards as well. And your goaltending. Your goaltending wasn't there this year. I think Reimer stole the net from UPL again. I think he's 9-1 in his last 10, which is nuts. I think it was a 9-1 or 8-2. I don't know what Reimer's record is his last 10. It might be 8-2 or 9-1. I'm not sure. But I mean, that's the second time, UPL has lost the net to a fossil. And I'm not trying to disrespect guys like Craig Anderson before James Reimer, but it's true though. It's true. You lost your net to an over the hill, past their prime goaltender, who, yes, stepped up when you needed him to and played really well. But that was supposed to be UPL's net. He had a great year last year. Some say he may have earned that contract. I mean, I think that I was not thrilled about the term they gave UPL. I thought it should have been a 3-year deal. Maybe that was the bargaining chip that UPL had. He's like, I'm not signing here long term unless you give me 5 years or more. Could be it. I don't know. I'm not thrilled that his first year of this contract, he had below a 900 save percentage and a well above 3.0 goals against. That's not good. That's terrible. Those are terrible numbers. Terrible. And yeah, you could look at the defense and they're played 5-on-5 defensively as being part of it. But you need better goaltending. And there were a lot of games where you really needed a save from, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and you just didn't get it. You didn't get it. And I still want to have faith in him. I do. Because you guys all know I consider him an absolute athletic freak. I think that, his physical attributes and his physical tools aren't what hold him back. It's obviously, and I've always said it, it's up here. And Olaf Kolzig was on with us not too long ago, last week, and a guy who follows Rochester because he is a Rochester alumni. He's he's kind of in touch with what's going on with the Sabres pipeline a little bit, even though he works for Washington. He said he even agreed, you got to be able to and he even looked back at his own career and how he handled himself mentally early on and how he needed the development in the AHL with Rochester and I think it was Tri-City, I want to say, where it took him a while to get to a point where Washington wanted to bring him back and have him be an answer for them in goal. Listen, I'm not willing to give up on him, but you need to see strides from him here in the offseason. I mean, I'm assuming he'll probably go play in the World Championships. I don't know for sure. I know Tage is. You're going to have some guys like Kulik, he'll go down to the AHL and go play for for Rochester and hopefully help them chase a Calder Cup. But hopefully somebody like UPL, gain some confidence here in the offseason. And, we'll see. So, and I see a comment from Mauricio too, Greenway and Norris, disappointing lack of availability, injury prone, especially Greenway, And the thing is, when Greenway played, he produced. He did his job. He had a job and he did it. It just sucks that we didn't get to see more of Norris. I guess it was an injury that he aggravated, re-aggravated, at some point, I guess against Detroit, I think Mike said it was. But I don't know, man. It's, availability is pretty important in this league, and you got too many guys on this roster that, the availability wasn't always there. You can even include Duane in that a little bit this year. In that during that 13-game streak, he missed 9 of those games. What if you would have won 5 of those 9 that he missed if he would have played? You know how much of a difference maker he is. He just is. It sucks. Really, really does. I don't know. So I'm going to bring up the post-game comments here from Brian Koziel. Like I said, he's always on top of that. Just give me one moment here. Oh, and congrats too to Vic Motor, the Sabres fan of the game, or fan of the year, sorry. Huge shout out to him. Super, super happy for him. He's a true bleeds blue and gold, bleeds the goat head. Guy ripped his shirt off and, when he was doing the Let's Go Buffalo chant on the drum to start the game. He ripped his shirt off, bare-chested, like he was a part of Bill's Mafia, and he has his own they have their own particular Sabres chant that they do over there in the Czech. Was it the Czech fan club, Sabres Czech fan club? And he got it going at the game tonight, which was awesome. So, huge shout out to him. I actually got to talk to him a little bit today, which was super cool. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Got to meet him finally for the first time. And, I extended him, should come on the podcast sometime. And he said, some point, maybe we'll get him on here in the off season and see what it's like to talk to and chat about this team with somebody from a much different culture than ours. But in terms of passion, there's not much difference there. From Michael Andrew, a new YouTube viewer. Thanks for popping in. We missed the playoffs by 12 points, so we've probably needed to win 7 more. Considering who you're beating, if you're beating teams that are in front of you in the standings, those are like 4-point swing games. You probably around 5 to 7 games you would have needed, depending on who the opponent you got the wins against were. So, no doubt about it. So, but here from Brian Koziel, God, this is running so slow. Sorry, guys. Here we go. From Brian Koziel on the post game. Lindy says the talks with the players over the next 2 days will be getting them to be ready right off the start for next season. Lindy says, we're not where we want to be. Says 13-game winless streak killed them for this year. Says there are no excuses from it, and he takes the blame for it and says it simply can't happen again. I appreciate that, Lindy, even though he inherited this roster and he was kind of dumbfounded during that 13-game streak, on what to do and why things weren't working, because they did lose a lot of close games. It's not like they're getting blown out. They did lose a lot of close games. Lindy says Reimer played great hockey this season, says he has a lot of admiration for him, says he gave the club a lot of confidence. Lindy called this a union game, not a lot of hitting. Lindy on 900 wins. It just means I've coached a lot of hockey games. I've had a lot of good players and coaches and management that has put a lot of trust in me. Reimer says Dahlin is a special player, says he grew so much with his play this season, but as a person, he grew a lot and took a big step. And as a captain, he handled the pressure well and grew as a person and leader. Says he leads by example. Reimer says he feels like he will take the next couple weeks and see how he and his family is doing, and then make a decision on whether or not he wants to play again next year or retire. Again, he will be a UFA, so it's not like, he has to come play for Buffalo. I mean, as much as that little run we had with James Reimer here to end the season was nice, and he gave us a chance to win every single game. I need better. I need younger. I need, than James Reimer. I look at guys like Thatcher Demko. I've been very, very vocal about that. If he's healthy and he's ready to go, if he doesn't have trade protection, go after him. A guy like Jake Allen too. But I just don't want to run back the two same goalies. I just don't. I know they tried that once with Craig Anderson. I don't want to do that again with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and James Reimer. If it's not, if it's going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen still here next year, I need a guy that's you're bringing in with the sole intent of splitting time with him, a 1A, 1B situation, and you ride the hot hand. Whoever's playing for 2-3 game stretches at a time, because as confident as we all felt about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to start the season, he took a lot of steps back. And it sucks too. It sucks. So, let me see here. Ever. Just trying to figure out where Ty is. More from Brian Koziel. Tuck on winning the Brig Martin Award. The award, it's nice, but it's more of the effect and the encounters with the people I've been able to work with. Says he credits area businesses and charities for their great work. His wife and son for pushing him hard to be a help in the community. Tuck on setting shot block record for forward. Says it's pretty cool. Says he really tried to put an emphasis on good defensive play, which he did, man. I think he was either led the league or was tied for the league in a lead for shorthanded goals this season. He was, the shorthanded king. He is fantastic this year on the penalty kill and 5-on-5. Tuck on Lindy's 900 wins. It's awesome. I wish we did it a few games ago. It's good to get 900 for him. It really is special. I'm sure it means a lot for him too. Jack Quinn on home ice improvements. I think it goes a long way. Get the fans behind us. Got to clean up on the road. It's a positive for sure. More from Reimer. It's fun to win. I thought we played a pretty good game. We battled hard right to the end, and it always feels good to finish with a win. More from Reimer. Says he was a little freaked out in the moment when a skate blade touched his neck. Luckily, he says he's fine. I don't know if any of you saw that. I forget whose skate it was, but it was like during a kind of a scramble for the puck from the puck in the net, and he kind of did like whoever the player was from Philly, kind of just almost did a half somersault. And that skate from the one angle, it was literally sitting like right near his dangler. I think he wears a dangler on his mask, and it came dangerously close to slicing his throat. And we've seen that happen already twice in Buffalo. And I was in attendance for the Richard Zednick one. It's, I don't ever want to see that happen again anywhere. So thankfully that didn't end a disaster for Buffalo tonight. From Michael Andrew, can't trust Levi or UPL. We need a new goalie with Levi or UPL and trade the odd man out. Listen, everyone knows I'm a Levi guy. Have been for a while. I think he has the mental ability. I think, we have one guy here in the chat loves to say he's mentally weak and fragile. He is the complete opposite of that. I almost think he says that just to try and trigger me. If you ever listen to him talk, he is a very next shot mentality type of goalie. He doesn't let a bad goal or a bad game get to him. And that's not easy to do at that position. I've said it 1,000 times. Two of the toughest positions in all of sports are pitcher and goalie, because the game can be won or lost. And you can give up 8 runs in 1 inning, or you can give up 5 goals on 8 shots, and the game can be won or lost because of you in a matter of moments. So, it's tough. It's a tough in terms of your ability to move on from a bad moment, and goaltending is no different. It's tough. Kind of out there on an island by yourself. And I think that Devin Levi is one of those guys that, from a mental standpoint, is as good as like a guy like Ryan Miller in terms of the mental side of the game. I think he's got a ton of talent. What he lacks for in size, he has an instinct and patience and the way he looks at the game, the way he sees things, the way he anticipates plays and watches the play come to him. I have a ton of faith that Devin Levi will be the future franchise goalie of this hockey team. No doubt about it. Dream scenario would be Levi and UPL, but I don't know if that's going to take us to the playoffs. It's tough, man. It's really a lot's going to lie on UPL and the offseason he has. Like I said, I don't know if he plans on going to the World Championships, if he's going to play at all. Like, I don't know what their goaltending situation is going to be or who plans on playing. We'll see, but he needs to work for sure. He needs to. I don't want him risking his health, but I think going and winning with Team Finland at the World Championships would be a big boost to his confidence if he in fact decided to do that and go play. So I don't know, but we'll see. Again, you look forward to the offseason and what needs to be done. You have to extend Alex Tuch as soon as possible. No doubt about that. I think he is the third most important player on this team. You could even go as far as him and Tage being 1A, 1B after Dahlin. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not counting Dahlin, because him being obviously the most important, you could look at Tage and Tuch as being like a 1A, 1B situation. That's how important Alex Tuch is to this team. He's a true leader. He's not afraid to drop the gloves with anybody who takes a shot at one of his teammates, which is something that should be really valued with this hockey team. I think he's earned his big contract, and I think Buffalo should give it to him. They should make him a rich man. They should give him a contract that he could look at and possibly, look to almost end his career with Buffalo on. I think it's going to be very hard for this team to make the playoffs without Alex Tuch. That's how important he is and how he plays the game in all three areas: defensively, offensively, in the neutral zone. He is just that important. I would say 8 million for 8 years, and that's probably a hometown discount if he did that. Honestly, it would be, because I think he's possibly earned more than that, especially with the cap going up. And if you look at comparables and players that make some money to have similar production as him, they probably make more money than that. No doubt about it. From Liam Canadian, trade for John Gibbs and keep Levi in the minors, $14 million per for Marner, 8.5 per Sam Bennett. I don't know what the cap is going to look like, and obviously I don't know if Jack Quinn is going to be here next year. Again, it's nice to see him shine here and get some of his game back at the end of the season, but we've seen that happen with him before. And again, going back to my earlier point, availability is a huge thing with him. You can't put all your eggs in the Jack Quinn basket next year and hope that he finally figures it out, stays healthy, and becomes that 30 goal scorer we hope he can be. I just don't have enough faith in him that he can give you that. I think the talent offensively is there, the shot is there, the hands are there. It's just staying healthy and being available and not taking an entire 80% of a season to find your game again. You just can't have that happen. So I don't know if he's going to be here next year. I saw in there in the chat, Sam Bennett being a guy they should target. I totally agree. I think Sam Bennett would be a very valuable piece offensively for this team. And though he plays with an edge, and it kind of holds other teams accountable when you're out there against them. Players think twice a little bit when a guy like Sam Bennett is out there, because they know he's not afraid to get in your face, take a cheap shot, make you pay for doing something stupid out there. He's not like an enforcer, but he plays with an edge. So, and the Mitch Marner conversation, again, who doesn't want Mitch Marner? I want Mitch Marner. It just depends, A, if, he makes it to free agency, B, if you can talk him into coming here. It'd be almost like back when we were able to get Mario Williams to come here. was so unlikely and so unrealistic when you first talked about it. You'd have to find a way to talk him into it. His ties to the city of Buffalo is fit. You recruit, Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins to go recruit him. I don't know. He is a massive, massive Bills fan, and not that that would play into it, but you never know. So, but in terms of defense, I see a lot of comments here in the chat for defense. Yeah, I mean, you saw Pionk get extended today at the big contract. So obviously he's off, off the board, but you still have guys like Cody Cece, right-handed defense like Cody Cece, Fabro, and Aaron Ekblad, and who knows who else might be available out there, an RFA, that's how we got Bowen Byram. Maybe you find a young 22, 23, 24-year-old defenseman who's on the uprise who can help this team next year. I don't know, maybe there's a guy out there. There's not a lot of players out there that don't have trade protection. But again, I don't know. We'll see. Aaron Ekblad, I can talk myself into that. He's a leader. He was a captain. Stanley Cup winning defenseman. Brings a ring to your room. He's a right-handed shot. He plays a nasty game sometimes, and he's a good stay-at-home defenseman and can play an offensive game if you need him to. You have to find that guy this offseason to play with Owen Power. You just have to. You can't go another offseason without finding that guy. They will sign a defenseman in the offseason or hopefully trade for one. But that being said, I don't know how much I trust Kevin Adams to pick the right guy. Aaron Ekblad is only 29 years old right now. He's from Windsor, which isn't that far from Buffalo. His current salary is $7.5 million. Let's take a look at the season he had this year for Florida. I know he had the the suspension for the performance enhancing drugs or whatever. But this year, in 56 game plays, he had 3 goals and 33 points, was a plus 11. That's a solid season for a defenseman. That's a solid season for him. Look at last season, where he played again, availability, 51 games. He only had 18 points, but he was a plus 27. Season before that, he played 71 games, 38. Like, he's not a guy who's going to go out there and put up 50 points as a defenseman. But you know what? He's going to go out there. He's going to hit hard. He's going to defend his net. And he'll be that good complement to a guy like Owen Power. Maybe he's paired with Rasmus Dahlin. I don't know. I doubt it because I think Dahlin does he play the right side? I'm not sure. I want to say Dahlin might play the left side. I can't remember. But you have to find that guy. You have to find that top 4 defenseman. No doubt about it. And that is a priority this season. And get Demko from the Canucks. Yeah, I'm all on board with that. I don't know what the cost would be. And would you guys trade Jack Quinn for Thatcher Demko straight up? 1 for 1? I think that might be an overpay for Buffalo, personally, for a guy with 1 year left on his deal, compared to an RFA. You control his RFA rights, and he's not going to nearly make that kind of money. If anything, you probably paying him on you'd probably be paying Jack Quinn, no matter where he plays next year, whether it's in Buffalo or not, on a 3-year bridge deal or 2-year bridge deal. If a guy comes in and helps us make the playoffs and breaks the drought, he would be a legend here. Yeah, he would. No, I know Aaron Ekblad has the right-handed D, but I can't remember if we have a couple of defensemen on this team that play both sides. I want to say Dahlin does play the right side as well. So, but he can play both sides. I'm pretty sure. No, Demko is oft injured, bad knees. Yeah, but he's got 1 year left on his deal. 1 year left on his deal. If he stays healthy, he can be a Vezina level type goaltender. Last year, he was a Vezina level type goaltender, and he had another season that was close to Vezina level. It's a low risk, in my opinion, high reward. You got him for 1 season. That's it. He makes $250,000 more than UPL. Maybe you run those 2 goaltenders back. Those 2 goaltenders, UPL and Thatcher Demko. If you're a Sabres fan and that's your pair going into next season, Demko and UPL, are you confident that that might get you, if Demko can stay healthy? I think that can get you to the playoffs. I do. I genuinely do. The only other guy that might be available would probably be Jake Allen, who I think is like 34 years old. He's not old, but he's not young. Might have a couple good years left in, but he's always been like a really good 1B goaltender. He's had a couple good seasons in the league, but he's never been a guy that you could trust to be a workhorse goaltender. But I would take him. I mean, if that's your next best option. I don't want to run back James Reimer again on this team. No, thank you. No way. You need somebody to challenge UPL for ice time and ride the fire. Listen, I agree with that. I just question whether UPL can fold or thrive under pressure. I've always said you find a lot about an athlete when they're backed into a corner and they face adversity. I'd be all for finding somebody that's going to push UPL out of his comfort zone. You can't have a team with Demko and tissue paper Norris. But here's the thing. Your options might be limited. Who is it going to be? Who? You're going to go get Gibson? That's going to cost you a lot more than what to go get Demko. You're looking for a guy that come here and either just play 1 year, hopefully to the point kind of like what Calgary has done with Dustin Wolf, and you give Levi another year in the AHL, and then he's ready to come be a full-time NHL goaltender. Or you go find a guy who you can sign to a multi-year deal. Maybe that is Johnny Gibson. I don't know. I can't see John Gibson wanting to come play for the Buffalo Sabres. I don't know if he has trade protection or not, or what his contract looks like, but I can't imagine if he has trade protection that he's lifting that to come play for the Buffalo Sabres. So your options might be limited in terms of net. Again, if somebody wants to pull up the available goaltenders in free agency, I know it's pretty slim pickings, but it's not a very deep class in free agency this year. So maybe you go, I forget the kid's name, from St. Louis, Hofer. Is it Hofer? Joe Hofer or whatever? He'll be an RFA. Maybe you target a kid like him. He's heading into his RFA status. Maybe you offer sheet him. I don't know. Again, that would also entail Kevin M stepping out of comfort zone and actually offer sheeting somebody. I don't know if it's possible. So, but we'll see. Going into next season, looking into next year, it's going to be probably the most interesting offseason we've had in a while. You absolutely have to address your top 4 defensive pairing. I still want to see them add to their top 6, and you need a goaltender. There's 3 pieces you need right there. And this order of priority: goaltender, defense. Those can be 1A, 1B, and the third being a top 6 guy. That's and then obviously cleaning house on your assistants and bringing in a whole new coaching staff. I think they keep Seth Appert around. Mike Harrington made it known last night on Two Goalies One Mike with us that Lindy requested Seth Appert to be on his bench because he had a deep familiarity with the players on this roster, whereas Lindy didn't, other than when he coached against them. He wanted somebody around that had, I guess, a big part of it is that Terry Pegula didn't want to pay coaches to not coach for him anymore. Those guys still had contracts. All these guys will no longer have contracts after this season. So I imagine everybody but Appert will be fired. You'll have Ruff, you'll have Appert, and then, again, I really keep my fingers crossed that a guy like Pekka becomes available out of New York after. I assume what will happen is, Laviolette and his staff will get let go. Dolan will let him go, and you'll see a new coaching staff here in Buffalo. It'll be interesting to see if Chris Drury gets fired out of New York too. I don't know. We'll see if he gets another year or not. I know he is definitely absolutely on the hot seat. You go from winning a President's Trophy to not making the playoffs. It doesn't happen very often. if we get a top 6 forward, who do you think that is? There's a lot of names out there. There are guys like John Tavares who will probably sign back with Toronto on a very team-friendly deal. That's very possible. I like Sam Bennett quite a bit. Brock Besser's a UFA. In a perfect world, I'd like to see if the two big moves you make are go get Brock Besser and then find a way to sign Aaron Ekblad. Does that make you a playoff team next year? It might. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to see those. If you were to ask me two moves that weren't Mitch Marner related, those are the two right there: Brock Besser and Eric Ekblad. Yeah, those guys are at the top of the list for each of their respected positions in free agency, but why not? You have the cap space to make it happen. You don't have to pay Jack Quinn. You don't have to pay Devin. You're going to extend him, but it's not going to be some big contract. You're going to have to pay Paterka, obviously. He scored the 27th goal this season tonight. He's been honestly one of the best developed players they've had come through their system. So yeah, you got to pay him. You got to pay Tuck. But even having to pay those guys, you still can afford. You still can afford a Brock Besser or a Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers is a guy whose name always seems to be in trade talks when it comes to Buffalo. Or on the want side, ever since that whole Rasmus Ristolainen rumor came about, where there was a trade on the table, straight up Ehlers for Ristolainen, and we said no apparently. Yeah, listen, I'd be all for that. You have the cap space to hack him, but the thing is Kevin Adams going to go out and make that deal and convince those players to come to Buffalo? Because even if we can overpay, I'm sure other teams can overpay too. Pittsburgh will probably have a lot of money drop off their cap. They're going to be willing to pay. Boston's going to be willing to pay. But a lot of teams are going to be willing to pay. But we'll see. Obviously, we're not done for the season. We still have, our normal podcast on Tuesdays. Now that we won't be dealing with games on Tuesdays, Sabres games at least. We'll go back to our normal 8:30 start on Tuesdays. So you'll be expecting us there. We will still do post game. I'll hang up and listens during select playoff games. We have some other stuff possibly in the works too. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some fantasy hockey, playoff fantasy. I don't know. That was something that's kind of brought to our attention that we're kind of chewing on a little bit. We'll see what happens. I'm going to bring it to the Two Goalies on my team and see what they think. And we are still going to do our own fan of the year. That is happening. I know Mauricio asked about it a couple times. I know a couple of you guys asked about it. We are still going to do maybe a fan or fans of the year. We'll put together some prizes and, for you guys that have been very faithful to us, engaging, always in the chat after every single game, we're going to do something nice for you guys because I appreciate the hell all of you. So, and again, we still have Amherst playoff hockey too. We are going to cover that. That'll be really exciting. Hopefully I can get my gimp ass with my broken leg out to Rochester for a game or two and go check out Devin Levi and the crew and watch them chase a Calder. And we definitely will cover that too. So with that being said, guys, just stay tuned. And again, I know I said it earlier, but I can't express it enough. Thank you so much. So much for sticking by us all season and being here in this community we've built. I'm very grateful for it, especially over these last 2 months with my broken leg where I haven't really had much to do and I've been able to just talk with you guys. I feel like we're all one big family here, right? Like here on I'll hang up and listen. I take you guys. I don't take you guys for granted, and I appreciate the hell out of all of you. So, again, we will do some type of fan of the year. Mauricio is the chat abuser of the year. He might be. Thank you, Gar. This is the best post game in the show in the league. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'll take it. I will take the compliment. Listen, I appreciate the hell out of all of you. And as always, guys, if you've enjoyed this content, you watch here on X or Twitter, and you can find me at DuaneS39. You can find the podcast at Two Goalies, One Mic. You can find my co-host Connor Hurley at CHurls13. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. If you're an audio only guy, or guy or girl, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. All you got to do is search 2 Goalies, 1 Mic. And most importantly, I see you all watching on YouTube right now. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you know when we go live. Hammer the like button. Hammer that like button so hard. Give us a hand with the algorithm. Again, I appreciate you all. We will talk again soon. Don't worry. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere. Just because the Sabres season is over. We still got the Amherst. We still got the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we still got our normal weekly podcast, 2 Goalies, 1 Mic. Maybe we go maybe I'll talk to Connor about it. Maybe we do 2 shows a week. I don't know. Just to keep you guys entertained. When we definitely will do some post-game shows for the Stanley Cup playoffs and, of course, the Amherst. So that being said, guys, it's been a hell of a season. Fun, sad, exciting, miserable, expected, at least from me, because I wasn't confident in this team to start the year. I never thought they did enough. Not nearly enough to put this team in a position to make the playoffs, and obviously the end result is proof of that. I wish I was wrong, but I wasn't. Sucks. Does. Yes, Jack, I'm sick of it too. It's 14 years and I am sick of it. You see the back wall here. Time, money invested in this hockey team. Went to the game tonight. It sucks. It really, really does. But what's that quote from the Dark Knight? What is it? The night is darkest before dawn. Does somebody know that quote from the Dark Knight? The night is darkest before dawn, or at dawn. That can be really applied to this hockey team. We've been through 14 years of bullshit. We've been through 14 years of miserable, toxic bullshit. And we're still here. I'm actually looking up that quote. I believe the night is darkest just before the dawn. I'm pretty sure that was said in The Dark Knight by Harvey Dent. That can totally be applied, hopefully, to this hockey team. I hope that's true. And maybe it'll make that'll make when we do break this playoff drought that much sweeter. So you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Sabres. Love you all.